Hi, friends. Stephanie Redfeather here. And I wanted to share something with you that really impacted me very, very powerfully this morning as I was doing my spiritual practice. Um, when I had my spiritual awakening almost 25 years ago, one of the first books that I read was the Conversations with God series. I'll show that to you. It is a profound set of dialogues. And if you're not familiar with it, it is written by Neale Donald Walsch, who's the author, and it is literally laid out as it looks like a script, right? So Neale, God, Neale, God. And they have a conversation throughout this entire book. And it was life-changing for me. Like I said, one of the first books that I read in my spiritual awakening, and it gave me permission to see and know and understand and believe things that I think I was too afraid to. And so it seems like once about every 10 years, I dive back into the books, and I have been listening to them on audiobook, and then I go back and read and highlight, and I've got, you see, sticky notes and all kinds of stuff in here because it's for me very inspirational and helps me keep my energy high. And so there is a passage that I want to read for you that I was reading this morning where I had just such a profound, deep knowingness in my bones of an understanding of the duality of planet Earth, of love and fear. And in this book, God says there are only two sponsoring thoughts, if you will, original or originating motivations. It's either love or it's fear. And so let me read this passage to you, and then I will share more about what my personal epiphany was. So this can be a little mind bending. So I invite you to take this in as a transmission, maybe even close your eyes and listen to take it in through all of your senses. So this is God speaking, God Goddess. In the beginning, that which is all there was, and there was nothing else. Yet all that is could not know itself, because all that is all there was, and there was nothing else. And so all that is was not. For in the absence of something else, all that is not. This is the great is, not is, to which mystics have referred from the beginning of time. Now, all that is knew it was all there was. But this was not enough, for it could only know its utter magnificence conceptually, not experientially. Yet the experience of itself is that for which it longed, for it wanted to know what it felt like to be so magnificent. Still, this was impossible because the very term magnificent is a relative term. All that is could not know what it felt like to be magnificent unless that which is not showed up. In the absence of that which is not, that which is not. The one thing all that is knew is that there was nothing else, and so it could and would never know itself from a reference point outside of itself. Such a point did not exist. Only one reference point existed, and that was the single place within. The is, not is. The am, not am. Still, the all of everything chose to know itself experientially. This energy, this pure, unseen, unheard, unobserved, and therefore unknown by anyone else energy, chose to experience itself as the utter magnificence it was. In order to do this, it realized it would have to use a reference point within. It reasoned quite correctly that any portion of itself would necessarily have to be less than the whole, and that if it thus simply divided itself into portions, each portion, being less than the whole, could look back on the rest of itself and see magnificence. And so all that is divided itself. becoming in one glorious moment that which is this and that which is that. For the first time, this and that existed quite apart from each other, and still both existed simultaneously, as did all that was neither. Thus, three elements suddenly existed: that which is here, that which is there, and that which is neither here nor there, but which must exist for here and there to exist. It is the nothing which holds the everything. It is the non-space which holds the space. It is the all which holds the parts. Now, this nothing which holds the everything is what some people call God. Yet that is not accurate either, for it suggests that there is something God is not, namely, everything that is not nothing. But I am all things, seen and unseen. So this description of me as the great unseen, the no thing, or the space between, an essentially Eastern mystical definition of God, is no more accurate than the essentially Western practical description of God as all that is seen. Those who believe that God is all that is and all that is not are those whose understanding is correct. Now, in creating that which is here and that which is there, God made it possible for God to know itself. In the moment of this great explosion from within, God created relativity, the greatest gift God ever gave to itself. Thus, relationship is the greatest gift God ever gave to you. From the no thing, thus sprang the everything, a spiritual event entirely consistent, incidentally, with what your scientists call the Big Bang Theory. As the elements all raced forth, time was created, for a thing was first here, then it was there, and the period it took to get from here to there was measurable. Just as the parts of itself which are seen began to define themselves relative to each other, so too did the parts which are unseen. God knew that for love to exist and to know itself as pure love, its exact opposite had to exist as well. So God voluntarily created the great polarity, the absolute opposite of love, everything that love is not, what is now called fear. In the moment fear existed, love could exist as a thing that could be experienced. It is this creation of duality between love and its opposite, which humans refer to in their various mythologies as the birth of evil, the fall of Adam, the rebellion of Satan, and so forth. I remember the first time that I read this, I was just blown away. It was sort of like it itself and is not and here and there. And I mean, I had to really read this slowly to digest it. But what really struck me this morning when I was reading it again was the absolute knowingness in my bones, the way it landed at a level that it's never landed before. That fear is here. It is created. It is a part of our reality so that we can know what love is. And all of this, you can tell I'm getting emotional. It is 1 week after the election in the United States, and I know that so many of us are in a place of fear, a place of the unknown, not knowing what to expect, and just being sensitive souls, being empathic. We're feeling the chaos in the collective. And so I have really been doing deep inner work to try to come to a peace, come to an acceptance that I chose to be here. And so did you, frankly, that I chose to be here as a US citizen in this body, born when I was, to be alive during these times on purpose for a reason. And so I just wanted to share this with you because it was so profound for me to really deeply understand that in every moment we can choose love or we can choose fear, but we can't experience love. God could not experience itself. It only knew itself, and thus it created relativity, the that which is not, so that it would have a comparison. It would have something outside of itself that was not love to be able to know what love is. And so I invite you, if you are feeling powerless, if you are feeling hopeless, to remember that always you have the power to choose love or fear.